Joining us now, looks like we're all good in the waiting room there. Head football coach on the fan guest hotline powered by Gruber Law of the Air Force Academy, Mr. Troy Calhoun joining us. Mr. Calhoun, thank you so much. You have no idea who these random people, well, you know who Mason is, but you have no idea who this random kid, I call up the Air Force. I just made a phone call to the Air Force, and I was like, hey, this shouldn't be a problem, right? And they're like, oh, actually, the government completely shut down. This is a massive problem to ask for him right now. And you still found a way to work. And hey, at the buzzer, we're all back in business. Mr. Calhoun, how are we doing today?
Hey, awesome. What an honor it is to be a part of such a great show, too.
Yeah, really appreciate you jumping on, and appreciate you being a part of the Air Force and your service as we're celebrating veterans today, and just kind of throwing that out there. I actually have some interesting football questions as I'm looking through your coaching tree in your career, and one of the things that I feel like I don't ask coaches a lot because I see that you coached in the NFL, you've obviously coached in college for a long time. Which one do you, obviously you've been a coach for Air Force for a long time, enjoy that, but what are the nuances of coaching at the pro level versus the college level? And then obviously now with NIL and transfer portal as NCAA is changing, I'd love some insight into how that feels, in this new age of college football.
Yeah, Mason, you asked really, you kind of delved into about 4 different areas.
I know. I know. Deep, a lot of stuff.
When you coach in the National Football League, the way it's all football, how awesome that is. How fortunate we were to be a part of 2 great organizations, certainly with the Denver Broncos under the leadership of the owner, Pat Bowlen, unbelievable football coach, should be a Hall of Famer, and Mike Shanahan. And then also to work with another great football mind in Gary Kubiak. Mm-hmm. That was as fertile as it gets, and was fortunate even in Houston. You'd walk into that staff room and Gary Kubiak was the head coach, and Mike Sherman was sitting next to you, and we had Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniels and Robert Saleh, and those were awesome times. And you talked about college football too. You're right. In this current age, when it comes to NIL, the transfer portal, and the whole bit. And then to be somewhere where we don't have access to any of that. We aren't allowed because our guys are government employees to offer any kind of NIL when that comes to the recruiting part of it. And we do not take transfers here at the Air Force Academy, yet guys can still leave and go to other schools. So, a lot to juggle there. And yet at the same time, if we'll hang in there here in 2027, certainly in 20 or even sooner in 2026, we are playing so many new guys right now. The landscape is drastically different. And the best way probably to compare it, there used to be a time here when you'd play 10 or 11 games and the bodies were similar because they were similar in age. Then all of a sudden we'd play BYU and you said, oh my goodness, these guys are 23, 24 years old because they'd gone on a 2-year mission, a good number we thought drastically different. Well, now pretty much every game feels like you're encountering BYU.
Yeah, exactly. Right. All the transfers, all the different moves there. I actually, so I'm living down here just south of Nashville in Brentwood, Tennessee. And I believe there's a couple players from this area that are coming up to Air Force Academy in this coming year.
Well, I can't comment on that, certainly.
It's not yet, right?
That's right.
I've heard the rumors.
Yeah. Mason, that is a really, really good area. How much it's grown, the quality of the schools there. Those are really ideal pockets. And another area where, patriotism matters, playing good football, and again, the academic piece.
Well, Troy, I feel like that is such an important part, right? You get to go into homes and you're going and visiting these student athletes that want to give more of themselves than just playing the game of football. Like they are going into service for their country. And so you probably go into these homes all the time, these schools, and you kind of know right away the type of guy, the type of player that is going to be interested in coming and that you want to be there at the Air Force Academy. Talk about that recruiting process going into those schools and those homes.
Yeah, you get right to it. I mean, it doesn't get past the initial small talk and just know that the academic component's huge here. We are still test mandatory, which means you have to have over a 1200 SAT or a 25 plus ACT. The
Nice.
curriculum background includes at a minimum pre-calculus, chemistry, and physics. And then, as you mentioned, the service component, to know that, all right, you come to the United States Air Force Academy. What that entails is when you graduate, when you're 22 years old, you're going to serve for our country. And it takes a lot of the selling, the salesmanship right out of it, and you get to the real meat and the real substance of it. And we're really looking for a unique guy, right? Somebody that's bright, again, a really, really strong student, and yet the character and the leadership qualities, and somebody that is willing to serve. And that's usually not only a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid, it's also having the backing and the support of their family, the parental part of it too, because there is a lot going on in the world, and there always will be. It's not just current times in terms of what's happening in the Gaza Strip or in Korea or China or Ukraine or anywhere else around the globe. Those are kind of forevers that pop up here or there over the foreseeable future too.
Head football coach at the Air Force Academy, Troy Calhoun, joining us here on the Mason Crosby Show. Coach, I assume that you're watching football as much as anyone else out here. Maybe not to the same level of fandom that a lot of people are, but when we're talking about the Packers here for like an hour on the show, and they had a football game yesterday that was so bad, and everyone wants to yell and scream, and everyone's calling for a guy's name. Someone's got to pay for it right now, and a lot of the slack going over to a head coach like Matt LaFleur. Talk about a locker room when it's getting hostile in a season like this, and how do you like regroup this locker room? You know, it's not a failed season yet by any means. 5-3-1. The Green Bay's in third in the division. They're still in the playoffs if things ended today, but like, how do you get things back on track when you start to hear a lot of outside noise and you start to hear some people complaining about the product on the field? What goes into that as a coach?
Well, Tommy, forever your focus is on, you always hear the word process, but you're always moving forward. You're trying to pull from background or experiences that occur, because you got to teach, right? That way you don't repeat mistakes as you go forward. But you're always getting your guys to look forward. That's leadership 101. What's crucial, and Mason knows this better than anybody, the caliber of people you have in a locker room. My goodness, the length of a season, not only 17 regular season games, but the duration of a training camp, the exhibition games. When you're in it for that long, well, you got to have guys that add to the chemistry of a group, because there are going to be ups and downs no matter where you work, especially in the National Football League. And honestly, it's the same way here. You just got to know, you know what? Yeah, there are going to be bumps. There are going to be plenty of hurdles. And when there are good stretches too, let's stay grounded well enough just to know that let's focus on ultimately what you really can get your hands on and control.
I love that, Coach Calhoun, how you said the teaching, right? I do feel like teaching, coaching, like just kind of still drawing that out of the players. I do feel like sometimes that is a lost art, especially as you get to the NFL, but it's so important because adversity will show your true character, right? If you're a selfish person and you get hit in the mouth, you're going to be more selfish in that moment, and make sure you take care of yourself. And so the real character is going to show itself here for teams that have these adverse moments. Something I've always been curious about there at the Air Force Academy. Obviously, you think Air Force, you think flying planes, doing all that. You got big offensive, defensive linemen. What are some of the roles that your student athletes go into after they're done playing football for you?
Yeah, awesome question. So when they graduate, you're 22 years old, you're going to go serve for our country, either in the Air Force or the Space Force, as we feed
Nice.
both. We produce the leaders, the officers for each one of those branches of service. And you're right, Mason, a good number go to pilot training. and I'll tell you honestly, I probably over 90% of the guys that come here initially because of football really had no military background at all. They came here because of the quality of the school, the friendships, the camaraderie's real here, the caliber of football, that you are able to play. But it sure is neat to see when a guy's flying an F-22 or an F-35 or you get off an airline flight and lo and behold, there's a guy that's 32
awesome.
that you saw him back when he was 17 years old. A good number go into business opportunities. I mean, we are the business part of things when it comes to purchasing hardware, software. It could be, any kind of acquisitions, the contracting, the finance part of it. That's very real, just because of the responsibilities that come, the fiscal part of it, handling taxpayer dollars that way. We have a good number that go become engineers, either aeronautical engineers, astronautical engineers. Could be in civil engineering, mechanical engineering, really, really good career fields. And then a good number that go into the Space Force too, whether it's in cyber. Guys, I'm just telling you, hope it doesn't happen. But if there's another major conflict, a lot of it's going to be who can take out or who can jam each other's satellites.
Right.
So they can't communicate. All of a sudden, you don't have GPS.
Yeah.
That drastically changes things. And then the special operations part of it too. We're really, really involved. You don't always hear that about the Air Force, but just, man, the special tactics officers, the things that are done with the combat controllers, amazing. And we're going to be at the tip of the spear. If there's a real concern about a nuclear facility, let's say in Iran.
Yeah.
I
Coach,
feel
I get it.
Somebody else got it. Somebody's got to. You have a good number of guys that are flying a 35-hour mission with the refuelers and all the tactical and the reconnaissance part of it. That's as applicable as it comes.
Coach, thank you so much. We're up against the clock. I
All right,
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so
We're going
much.
to have to do this again. We loved it. Thank you, Coach.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See
Thanks
ya.
so much.
There he is, Coach Calhoun over at the Air Force. On the other side, more Packers talk on the Mason Crosby